Hey guys, it's Dylan Laine and welcome back to my informal Q&A where I pick a question that one of you guys left in a comment on a video or on Instagram, and then I answer the question without really thinking too much about it ahead of time or writing a script, but instead I just say whatever comes to mind first. If you would like me to read your question and to answer it, then make sure you leave it in the comments down below or in the comments on my Instagram. My Instagram is dylan.laine. Today's comment comes from Truth, Minister, and Gamer. They write, "What was your first instrument?" Well, my first instrument was the piano. When I was about 7 years old, my grandparents bought me a piano, and the reason they bought me a piano was to encourage me to learn it and to play it. I specifically remember that it was an upright piano, and if you're not familiar with what an upright is, think of it as a piano where it goes up more instead of out more. So maybe you've seen a grand piano where it extends out like this. Upright piano extends out more like this. For people who are just starting out with piano, they tend to go more towards the upright, but that's not to say that an upright is necessarily a beginner piano. I remember I almost immediately got lessons once I had my piano. I did start out with classical piano lessons, where I basically learned all of the most traditional things you could learn for piano, such as chords and scales and exercises, hand techniques. I studied music by Chopin, Bach, and Mozart, and many other classical composers. From the age 7 to 15, I primarily focused on piano, and at about 15 is when I started playing guitar. Soon after, I also picked up the ukulele, and as a songwriter, it definitely was helpful to be able to have 3 instruments to choose from when I was writing music. While I do love playing ukulele, guitar, and piano, I do have to say that piano was my first instrument, therefore it is the one that I feel most connected to as a musician. It was such a large part of my childhood and my upbringing that when I sit down at the piano, I can't help but feel almost a sense of being home. When I first started learning piano, I didn't write right away. I mostly focused on learning songs and exercises and techniques, which I then implemented into my writing later on. Another question you guys have asked about the topic of a piano is, did I ever quit or ever want to quit piano? And the answer is yes. I think because I started piano at such a young age, there were definitely times where I felt a little bit overwhelmed or stressed at the idea of practicing or playing harder things. So during times where the songs might have been more challenging, I do have a few distinct memories where I told my parents that I would like to quit piano. However, they didn't let me quit, and I'm so glad that they didn't and that I didn't quit, because I'm very proud of the piano skills that I've been able to build over the years. I also feel like learning piano gave me such a strong foundation for when it came time for me to learn guitar and ukulele. For example, a lot of the things that I learned in piano, I was actually able to use when I was learning guitar and ukulele. The cool thing about learning music theory is that it applies to piano, guitar, ukulele, and most any other instrument. Of course, there are some variations for different instruments, but generally there was so much that I learned with piano and music theory that I could then apply to guitar and ukulele. Something that I'm really grateful for about starting piano at such a young age was the fact that I did have people pushing me to keep going whenever it got tough. I absolutely think it's possible to learn piano once you're older, whether it's your teen years or 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, but you will have to be the one pushing yourself. And it's possible, but you just have to be very diligent and disciplined. Just because I started with piano doesn't mean that anybody else has to start with piano. I think that if you're just learning to be a musician and you're starting with guitar or ukulele, that's equally as awesome as starting out with piano. Each instrument has its pros and cons to starting with them versus starting with a different one. That's for a different video. I remember going to piano contests and recitals and conventions and just really being immersed in the world of piano. I also had a really good practice routine. My teacher would make me a checklist where I would have to check each time I practiced a song each day. Generally, I would need to practice each song 3 times a day, 5 to 6 days a week. This is what I now teach my students to do in their practice routine. Of course, everybody has different learning preferences and needs. If you're interested in learning piano, I do have several piano tutorials, which I will link in the description box down below. Again, remember to leave your questions in the comments down below or on Instagram. And until next time, remember to play, write, and spread the light.
Joy comes for free, oh, it's living inside of me, dancing through my